Right. Welcome, everyone who is joining us. We'll just take a minute to let everyone filter in. Thank you for coming. Right. We are right at 4 o'clock, and it looks like everyone's joining us. Welcome. Welcome to Crow Canyon's annual meeting webinar. Thank you to our loyal friends who have decided to join us today on Thursday afternoon. Before I get started, I'm going to do some of our usual introductory slides. I can't imagine this is the first time anyone's joined us for a Crow Canyon Thursday webinar, but if you happen to stumble in for your first time at our annual meeting, we are a nonprofit research and education center here in beautiful Southwest Colorado. We have lots of information about Crow Canyon at our website, crowcanyon.org. As if you are familiar with our webinar series, you can go ahead and put some questions in the Q&A at any time, and we will see what kind of questions we have towards the end of the meeting. And if we type any answers in to the questions, then we'll make those public. But please go ahead and put questions in there in case people get to chatting in the chat. We are streaming on Facebook Live if anyone is getting some headaches from Zoom, and this will also be up on our YouTube channel with all of our other webinars and previous annual meetings. As always, let's start with our acknowledgments and gratitude. Crow Canyon Archaeological Center acknowledges the Pueblo, Ute, Paiute, Diné, and Jicarilla Apache people on whose traditional homelands our campus sits. With the work we're doing at Crow Canyon, we seek to bring light into the darkness of memory that these lands, waters, wildlife, and her descendants hold as a result of policies of removal, genocide, and displacement. We seek paths that support and align with Indigenous people and communities. With gratitude, we honor the contributions of present-day Indigenous communities, descendants, and colleagues with whom we partner who help guide our work and mission every day. Just a few announcements as long as we have all of you. We have registration open for some 2026 programs. There's some pretty amazing things going on next year. We're going to be going through the Ute Mountain Ute Tribal Park on bicycles this year. As you noticed probably every week in our land acknowledgements, that this area is also ancestral to Jicarilla Apache communities, and I think this may be the first time that we really have a program engaging with Jicarilla Apache descendants. So that's a pretty exciting program for next year. It is also the anniversary of the Antiquities Act of 1906 next year in 2026. So our executive vice president of our research institute, Dr. Susan Ryan, will be leading us through a really interesting program concerning the anniversary of the Antiquities Act. And then we'll be going to Indigenous California next year with one of our employees and scholars from this area. So please do consider taking a look at the descriptions of those programs for 2026. If you happen to be a graduate student who's watching today, the deadline is coming up for the Lister Fellowship. We will be really excited to see the applicants and hopefully soon have a new Lister Fellow for the next 2 years here at Crow Canyon. Lister Fellows have been incredibly successful. There are a lot of very prominent former Lister Fellows out there in the archaeological community. Please do keep coming the next couple of weeks. We have a really unique webinar on zoo archaeology and a case study on sea otters next week. Otters are some of my favorite animals, so I will be excited to watch. And then the week after this, we have the Archive of Indigenous Slavery. So please do check in with us for the next 2 weeks of webinars. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start our public presentation of the annual meeting. We have been having board meetings at Crow Canyon all week. This is the time of year that October, that Crow Canyon traditionally has its annual meeting. Starting with the pandemic was when we initiated having the public-facing portion of our annual meeting as a webinar, and we've been continuing this tradition so that people far and wide are able to get some updates on the organization, our business, our finances, and our programs. So without further ado, we will get into our annual meeting content. Oops, sorry. So just a heads up, this is what we're going to talk about. I'm going to give a little bit of a business and financial update that's really similar to what our board of trustees participated in and listened to today. So we will be giving the rest of our public listeners that update as well. And then we'll jump into our programs and projects, kind of an overview of what happened in the last year and a special update on our field school. And then one of the bittersweet happenings this year was we lost our longtime board of trustee and incredible scholar, a really founding father of Southwestern archaeology, Bill Leip. And we have our chair of our executive committee, former board chair, former president, Ricky Lightfoot, who's going to do a presentation and a tribute to Bill Leip. Without further ado, I'm going to get into our business and financial update. I wanted to tackle some big picture questions this year and talk to folks about what is Crow Canyon's business model? How are we funded? This is something we talk about a lot with our board of trustees in recent years. And we're a pretty unique organization here at Crow Canyon, and our business model has changed over the years from being a large public archaeology facing organization where really public participants came in great numbers, and that funding from that tuition plus donations really funded Crow Canyon. There's been a lot of shifts in the external business environment, and in the last few years, what's really been evolving for Crow Canyon is that our business model is very similar to that of a small college, right? To a higher education business model. And that's kind of the comparison that we're looking at here on the screen, that colleges and universities usually have these kind of 5 categories of funding: tuition that they collect from their students, state and federal funding sources. Many colleges and universities have an endowment, and in addition to their endowment, investment income from non-endowment portfolios, and then of course private donations. And that's really how Crow Canyon has evolved as well. Much like a small college or research educational institution, we collect tuition from schools and participants who come to our programs. This contributes to covering the cost of these programs, but it doesn't entirely cover those program costs. We too have state and federal funding in the form of grants and other types of contracts with the state and federal government. History Colorado has been a traditional funder, National Science Foundation, National Endowment for the Humanities, other federal programs, partnerships with federal agencies. We also have, over the last 40 years, with the help of many of our donors and prior board members and prior management, we have grown an endowment that has different types of funds in it that cover different activities and programs and projects, which is, if you know much about nonprofit management, endowments are restricted to funding those activities, but it's a large investment pool from which we take a draw every year. We also, in the last 6 or 7 years, we have built up non-endowment investment portfolios, very similar to other colleges and universities that have long-term pools and short-term pools. And this is what we have as well. And those are managed similar to the endowment from a financial management perspective, and then have rules and oversight from our board as to when and how we can take draws from those investments. And then, of course, every year we receive private donations. We call that our annual fund. Also, sometimes we have special appeals. We usually have a spring appeal and a year-end appeal, and sometimes particular appeals for different types of programs that are seeking funding. So altogether, these kind of 5 sources of draws from investments, cash coming in from tuition, state and federal funding, and private donations is what really funds Crow Canyon's operations. So what does that look like going forward? One of the things we think about all the time here is what's happening in the external world that can impact us. So I wanted to give our board today and give all of you members of the public who support us kind of some insight into what we think is maybe the outlook for this kind of business model. Obviously, we share some of the educational institutions have similar challenges. Ours are a little bit different, but most of our tuition comes in from schools who are coming to take part in our programs. We have hundreds and hundreds of students who come through every year. And what we've been seeing, particularly on the tuition front as we come to the last quarter of 2025, is that schools have been hit pretty hard with some of the funding changes at the state and federal level too. So that's something that we're keeping an eye on for 2026, is that we anticipate some of our schools needing and seeking increased funding, educational funding and scholarships to be able to come to our programs. What can we do about that? We're brainstorming here about how to raise money specifically for school scholarships and education, so that we can continue that really important aspect of our mission. All you really have to do is watch the news or open your phone to see that there's been many organizations, nonprofit organizations, educational institutions are suffering from state and federal funding cuts as well. We're doing having a lot of discussions about how to handle that here, and what we've been discussing this week is really trying to stay connected to those agencies, to our congressional delegations, to try to communicate how important this kind of funding is for education and research and Indigenous communities, and just stay in touch as best we can while we plan for potentially having less of that income coming into our programs, which I'm sure many nonprofits share the same challenge. One of the good things about our business model is that there is stability in our endowment and in our non-endowment investments, which there have a pretty reasonable value right now. And the way that we approach that is investment management. We have a very effective investment committee, investment policy statements, and financial managers that help us to grow our value so that we can continue to take draws to fund our operations. And many of our planned gifts that come into Crow Canyon are invested such that they can continue to last for a long time and support our organization. We're not sure what's going to happen in the coming year with private donations. We're going into a midterm election year, which always creates some uncertainty with respect to how comfortable people are feeling about their giving and their philanthropy. And we'll be talking here about how to just continue to stay engaged with our loyal donors, all of you that contribute to Crow Canyon so regularly. It is much needed, and we are truly grateful. So what does that mean for our annual financials? Hopefully everybody has taken a look at the 2024 annual report, either in your mailbox or online, to get a sense of the summary of our activities from 2024. And then, as usual, there is a financial summary that looks about the same every year. So what's important to look at here? Some things to point out is the strength of our financial position in generally. At the end of 2024, our total assets nearing $35 million. Most of these are carried in what you saw there, our investment portfolios and our endowment. We have very few liabilities as an organization, just really the liabilities that run through the organization. We have no debt. We operate without borrowing or even using a line of credit, which is available to us. So we've maintained a lot of stability in our assets over the last handful of years. In terms of our revenue and expenses, our expenses are pretty steady. Year over year, we spend about $5 million a year. Most of that covers the staff who deliver our programs and our partners who deliver our programs with us. Our revenue isn't exactly the same as cash, and so it doesn't line up perfectly, but we have sufficient cash from all of those 5 sources of income that you saw in our business model to cover our expenses year over year. So really, we have a good message of financial stability, and also a good message of we are a nonprofit, and we are almost entirely supported by philanthropy. So everything, all of your generosity continues to help these programs move forward, and we are very committed to very carefully stewarding our financial assets, because it is our goal to be a forever organization. So thank you, all of you, for your incredible generosity and support of our mission, which is the exciting part to move on to now, is what exactly are we spending that money on? What is our mission in the world? What kinds of things have we accomplished in this last year? So I want to move on to some wonderful videos and highlights that our team has prepared to really give you a picture of the kind of work that we've done this year. We have one sort of bittersweet program highlight, which is our college field school. Our college field school we actually have two field schools that we're pursuing right now. This one that has been historically supported by the National Science Foundation, and then we have a cultural resources management field school, which is partially supported through donations and tuition. The really wonderful thing about this National Science Foundation field school has been that it is part of a program the National Science Foundation has up until this year funded called Research Experiences for Undergraduates, which provides opportunities for undergraduates to participate in schools such as this in research, really give you a boost forward in your academic career and your professional career that you wouldn't otherwise have. As some of you may have known, we received notice earlier this year that the National Science Foundation was no longer continuing. They felt that the research experiences for undergraduates no longer fit with their goals, and they canceled these programs, and our college field school was a part of that. Thanks to all of your generosity and philanthropy, we were already getting ready to launch this field school. So even with that uncertainty, we were able to go ahead and complete the field school as we had intended. Going forward, we still plan to create and offer field schools for students. However, it will no longer be a National Science Foundation field school because of that change in policy. So because of that, to kind of honor that program, we created a video to show you what that program was like this last year, what that meant, and really celebrate all of the good work that program has done over the last 10 years. So without further ado, Ben, I'm going to go ahead and stop my share and let you go ahead and show our viewers a summary of this last year of NSF Field School.
I came to Crow Canyon originally thinking I was just going to be learning how to do excavation and field work like that. What I didn't expect to walk away with was an entirely new relationship with culture, history, and legacy. I think even deeper than that, I walked away with the knowledge of how to learn from the past instead of trying to speak for the past.
It doesn't even feel like a field school, it almost feels like I just was an archaeologist for like 2 months.
I learned about like the specific perspective of Indigenous people and the value in that and how to integrate it.
Learning to consider other people's points of views. No matter what direction I go in the future, the ability to kind of throw yourself into something and just fully lean in is huge, and not everywhere gives you the opportunity to do that, and I think that's really special.
But with financial support, I don't have to worry about work and how to afford it or begging my mom.
I'm extremely grateful for the funding that was received for me to be able to come here, for me to be able to pursue my dream. This funding gave me the opportunity to really jumpstart ahead, and this was the launch pad, I like to say, for everything that will be in my career, and I'm so grateful for it.
Definitely the funding from NSF really helped a lot. It allows me to spend more time on like my studies, so I don't have to like get a job to like pay basically everything back, or try to build up some of the savings that I would have otherwise lost.
To have that combination of excavation, survey, lectures from in the morning, at lunch, and at night from a bunch of different voices across a cultural landscape, and that diversity of minds and beliefs and opinions, and getting to kind of see that for not just one tailored view, but the broad scope of everything. Oh man, I think that's what makes Crow Canyon so special.
Dr. Ryan had said at the beginning that this is going to change your life, and I was like, all right, okay, sure. But it definitely did, and I think that I can speak for all my classmates in that like we're not the same people that we were at the beginning, and I think everything that we learned here we're going to take forward and do good things with.
Thank you, Ben. There's a lot of video that makes me a little weepy today, so I want to thank Dr. Susan Ryan, who initiated this NSF program for us and ran it so successfully for so long. It's just been an incredible program, and we're excited to develop the next suite of field school programs without that particular frame, but we're very excited about opportunities for the future. So that was College Field School. We now have a more comprehensive video to show you that really summarizes all of the programs that we've been engaging in this last year. And it also ends with a bit of a memorial honoring of the people that we've lost from our Crow Canyon family this year. And then following that, we will be coming into our tribute for Bill Light. So without further ado, Ben, why don't you go ahead and share our program summary. Thank you, Ben. So on that note, I am proud to introduce Dr. Ricky Lightfoot, former board chair, former president of Crow Canyon, current trustee, and Ricky, in his own words, has done literally every single job there has ever been to do at Crow Canyon over the last 40 years. And we are very grateful to have him here today to share about one of the folks that we lost this year, Dr. Bill Leip. I'm going to go ahead and share your presentation, Ricky. And turn it over.
All right, am I on?
We're on, thank you.
Okay. Bill Leip was born May 5th, 1935 in a company house in an oil-filled boomtown called Struggleville, Oklahoma, where his father worked in a refinery. When Bill was 6 years old, his family moved to nearby Bristow, Oklahoma, so that he and his older sister could attend school. But Bill's asthma prevented him from attending school until he was in the 8th grade. Bill was homeschooled, but his father died when Bill was 11, and his mother took a job as a teacher in the Bristow School District. During the school year, Bill was left at home alone during the week, but he was an avid reader with remarkable recall, and he pursued his own education, devouring books from the library and poring over the Encyclopedia Britannica and the Audubon Society Book of Birds. At age 14, Bill's asthma lifted and he was able to attend Bristow High School, where he blossomed, participating in speech, radio, theater, student council, and writing for the school newspaper. He was elected to the student council and to be president of his junior and senior classes. Unable to participate in sports, Bill found his sports niche as Bristow's youngest radio broadcaster. Bill broadcast the play-by-play action of the games in football, basketball, and baseball, keeping stats and providing write-ups for the Bristow News. Bill graduated with honors from Bristow High School in 1953 with a 4-year scholarship to the University of Tulsa, which he won in a Knowledge Bowl contest in which he was named the Grand Knowledge Champion of the Southwest. During his first year at University of Tulsa, Bill intended to major in journalism, but he became more interested in anthropology. So the following year, Bill transferred to the University of Oklahoma, where he graduated with a degree in anthropology and geology in 1957. That fall, Bill started a graduate program at Yale, but he interrupted his graduate studies the following summer when Jesse D. Jennings from the University of Utah offered him a crew chief position on the Glen Canyon project, where he continued to work for the next 3 years. On the Glen Canyon project, do we have the next slide? Oh, I might have messed that up. Okay. On the Glen Canyon project, the sites were only accessible by boat. Don Fowler was in charge of survey with a crew in one boat, of one person in one boat, and Bill with a crew of 4 would follow in a second boat to conduct excavation. So it was a one-way trip. So each time they could only stop at a certain number of sites and complete their work. Before completing his PhD, Bill took a teaching position at University of Oklahoma for a year, and then he was hired at SUNY Binghamton, where he taught from 1964 to 1972. While he was at Binghamton, he took a sabbatical to complete his dissertation in time to graduate from Yale in 1966. In 1972, he was hired as assistant director of the Museum of Northern Arizona, and in 1976, he moved to Washington State University, where he would continue for the remainder of his career. Can we get the research project slide?
There we go.
There we go. Thank you. The summer between graduating from University of Oklahoma and starting grad school at Yale, Bill participated in a summer internship at the Museum of Northern Arizona, where he met another intern, June Finley, who he would marry 5 years later. And that was the picture that you just saw out there. That's Bill and June, and that's around 1970, but still reflects that the charm that they both had. And then the next slide of hopefully the Museum of Northern Arizona. From 1972 to 1976, while Bill was assistant director at Museum of Northern Arizona, he and R.G. Matson co-directed a National Science Foundation-funded research project called the Cedar Mesa Project in southeast Utah. They conducted a settlement pattern analysis that allowed them to make important advancements in our understanding of the early agricultural pre-ceramic culture known by archaeologists as the basket maker culture. So that picture that's there now is the crew at the Glen Canyon project in 1958. That's Bill on the left. Apparently only a few people chose to wear shirts in the desert back in the 1950s. From 1978 to 1985, Bill was co-principal investigator of the Dolores Archaeological Program in southwestern Colorado, which studied primarily Basket Maker 3 and Pueblo 1 period settlements, roughly 500 to 900 in calendar years, in the area of what is now McPhee Reservoir in southwest Colorado. Once that project was over, Bill took a part-time position at Crow Canyon, serving as research director from 1985 to 1993, while maintaining his position as professor at WSU. I'll say more about his work at Crow Canyon later. The next slide should be I started a master's degree program at Washington State University in the fall of 1979. And after working in Southeast Alaska for the previous 2 years, I took classes from Bill in archaeological method and theory and archaeology of the American Southwest. That following spring, Bill hired me for an assistant crew chief position on the Washington State University crew at the DAP, the Dolores Project. Little did I know the extent to which that choice would change the course of my life. On my first day of the project, I met the woman who became my wife and the mother of our 4 daughters. She's the one in the red shirt on the front row. My job at DAP ended in the spring of 1984, and based entirely on a recommendation from Bill, I applied for a seasonal position at a nearby nascent organization called the Crow Canyon Center for Southwestern Archaeology. 41 years later, I'm still married to my first wife and still on the board of Crow Canyon. That's Bill on the front row on the left on the bench, and that's his teenage daughter, Carrie, in the green shirt sitting next to him on the ground. So this is the photo of the Washington State Field School and Field Crew in Dolores in 1980. Next slide. The initials WSU frequently did then and probably still get turned into the acronym Wazoo. A young artist on the Wazoo crew in 1980 created this artwork for a silkscreen print on a t-shirt showing Bill Lipe with the initials WSU emblazoned on his chest. Thus, Bill earned the nickname Wazooperman. Bill's relationship with Crow Canyon began in 1980 when he was invited to present a lecture in a community lecture series organized by what was then the Crow Canyon School. In 1981, the 14 lectures in the series were published in a collection called Insights into the Ancient Ones, edited by Joanne Berger. That same summer of 1980, Bill introduced Stuart Striever, president and founder of a large nonprofit research and education center in Illinois, in Campsville, Illinois, to Ed and Joe Berger, who ran the multidisciplinary outdoor education school just outside Cortez. Discussions between Striever and the Bergers led to an agreement that Striever's Illinois nonprofit would buy the Crow Canyon campus. This 1980 photo shows Bill Lipe touring Stuart Striever, Ed Berger, and a graduate student from Illinois at DAP excavations at Grass Mesa. This meeting led to the agreement that the 2 organizations would essentially merge with the Illinois organization buying the campus. In 1982, Joe and Ed Berger spent the summer in Campsville, Illinois, getting to know the research and education staff and observing their programs in preparation for launching the new joint venture in the following year. Because the Crow Canyon campus was vacated for 1982, Bill arranged to use the campus that summer to house his 1982 Washington State University Field School. This photo shows the crew from that summer on the Crow Canyon campus. That's Bill on the back row, fourth from the left, with his teenage daughter Jessie in the middle row, fourth from the left, and Jessie's twin brother David in the front row with the retro futuristic wraparound glasses. That's what and this next slide shows what the campus was like in 1982, with the buildings consisting of salvaged trailers sided with rough cut planks, and with students being housed in teepees. In the fall of 1982 and the winter of 1983, can we get that next slide yet? There we go. In the winter of 1983, a new lodge building was built with funding from Strieber's newly renamed Center for American Archaeology. In early 1983, two PhD archaeologists were hired, Chuck Adams and Bruce Bradley, and new archaeological research and education programs modeled after those at Campsville were launched in the spring. The programs included excavations at the Pueblo I period hamlet known as the Duckfoot site, and the following year, excavations were also initiated at the Pueblo III site known as San Canyon Pueblo. During these early days, Bill served on an advisory board, but he was not directly involved as a staff member or in shaping the research and education programs. In 1985, Chuck Adams accepted a job at the Arizona State Museum, and Bill Leip, as looking something like he does in the photos here, having completed his work at DAP, was hired to replace Chuck as research director on a half-time basis, splitting his time between Crow Canyon and his professor position at WSU. As the research director, Bill significantly expanded the intellectual and geographic scope of the research program. Bill conceived of and initiated the Sand Canyon Locality Project, which expanded Crow Canyon's research from a single site excavation model to a community-based locality approach, looking at a 200 square kilometer or 77 square mile area surrounding Sand Canyon Pueblo. Bill launched at the same time a nationally competitive internship program for career track archaeology grad students and advanced undergraduates who gained valuable field research and teaching experience. Bill also launched and served as the general editor of an in-house publication series, The Occasional Papers of the Crow Canyon Archaeological Center. The series over several years produced 4 edited volumes and 1 monograph. As research director, Bill oversaw the Sand Canyon Locality Project, which included several simultaneous projects. He didn't run all these projects, but he oversaw and conceptualized of this much larger locality project. Crews of field staff and interns surveyed more than 12 square miles, identifying 450 new sites in that survey area. A site testing program was launched, led by Mark Varian, which tested 13 sites in the area around San Canyon Pueblo. Intensive excavations continued at San Canyon Pueblo and the Duckfoot site simultaneously. Intensive excavations were also launched and conducted at the Green Lizard site, a small site within San Canyon. And after 2 seasons of testing at Castle Rock Pueblo, intensive excavations were conducted there for 3 more seasons. An environmental archaeology staff was hired and a program was launched to study the plant and animal use in the Sand Canyon locality. Also, an oral history project consisting of interviews of modern farmers in the Sand Canyon locality area was initiated. Later, Bill began to initiate a new project that expanded Crow Canyon's research to an even larger area beyond the locality to the entire central Mesa Verde region. The village survey, mapping, and testing projects expanded Crow Canyon's research beyond the locality to identify and document ancestral Pueblo villages across the region. The village projects conducted aerial photography, mapping, and test excavations at a number of these village sites. Reconstructions of past climates and the effects on soil and crop productivity in this larger study area were conducted by WSU graduate student Carla Van West. In 1990, Bill hosted a Pueblo III conference, which was a major gathering of the leading archaeology scholars from different regions across the American Southwest. He invited them and asked them to come with detailed summaries of the state of archaeological knowledge in their region of expertise. The 4-day conference resulted in a University of Arizona Press publication in 2000 called The Prehistoric Pueblo World AD 1150 to 1350, which was edited by Mike Adler. These regional projects contributed to the development of two subsequent National Science Foundation grant-funded projects known as the Village Ecodynamics Projects 1 and 2, which were largely the brainchild of WSU Regents Professor Tim Kohler. Bill was very popular as a lead scholar on many of Crow Canyon's travel seminar programs. He frequently led trips in which major donor prospects were introduced to Southwest archaeology and the work at Crow Canyon. Can we see the next slide, please? Bill also led many cultural explorations, including one that was called Hiking the Backcountry Ruins that centered on Cedar Mesa and the area that's now known as the Bears Ears National Monument. And then the next slide. Bill maintained many friendships with Crow Canyon participants and donors and supporters over the years, including the one shown here with Joan Dillard, who became a close friend and always made her guest house near Crow Canyon's campus available to Bill in his later years of age when he was involved in projects at Crow Canyon. It was in the 1970s that Bill made his most enduring contribution to the field. Witnessing the rapid destruction of archaeological sites in the salvage archaeology era, he articulated a new ethic for the profession. In his seminal 1974 article, A Conservation Model for American Archaeology, Bill argued that archaeologists had a responsibility to shift their focus from pure excavation to the long-term preservation of the archaeological record. He advocated for a multi-pronged approach, promoting public education, integrating archaeology into the planning and development of projects to avoid or mitigate damage to cultural sites, and establishing archaeological preserves. This conservation model became a foundational philosophy for the burgeoning field of cultural resource management. Leip was a key contributor through this model and through his work on a national level to establish that vision and direction for modern CRM in the United States. His work provided the intellectual and ethical framework that continues to guide how archaeology is practiced in the context of federal and state preservation laws today. Bill served a term as the president of the Society for American Archaeology, as well as serving on countless committees and task forces for the society. Bill served on Crow Canyon's Board of Trustees from 1995 until his passing in 2025. Throughout his career, Bill authored over 60 articles and authored or edited 6 books, and his work was recognized with the highest honors in this field. Bill valued his family and supported the life and career of his wife, June, who passed away in 2005, as well as those of his 3 children, Carrie, Jesse, and David. Bill received many accolades and awards, but said his greatest satisfaction was in working with colleagues and supporting the success of peers and students. The next slide, please. Bill truly was a team player who prioritized promoting the careers of his graduate students and junior partners over advancing his own career. Bill was an early advocate of encouraging the participation of women in archaeological research and fieldwork. He was also an advocate for engaging descendant communities in the study and interpretation of their own cultural heritage. Bill wasn't just known for his scholarship, he was known for his integrity and generosity as a mentor. Many of his students went on to lead major archaeological projects or teach at universities across the country. He encouraged collaboration, interdisciplinary thinking, and respect for the descendant communities whose past archaeologists study. Beyond academia, Bill was a pioneer in archaeological preservation and ethics, and an advocate for what's known today as public archaeology, an approach that recognized the shared ownership of the past by all people, not just by scholars. Over his long career, Bill published extensively on Southwestern prehistory, settlement systems, and the responsibilities archaeologists have toward the public and indigenous peoples. His work has influenced not only how archaeologists decide what to excavate and what not to excavate, but how we think about the value of cultural heritage itself. Today, when archaeologists talk about stewardship, sustainability, and ethics in the field, they're speaking in a language that Bill helped define. Bill reminded us that archaeology isn't just about the past, it's about choices we make in the present to honor that past. He taught us that preservation isn't passive, it's an active commitment to protecting our shared human story. As he once said, archaeology is a bridge between worlds, between what we can know and what we must imagine. On September 5th, there was a celebration of life held on campus here at Crow Canyon, in which 150 people attended, and half a dozen of Bill's colleagues over the years spoke about different phases of his career and life. And I think next we have a presentation about that celebration of life. So I'll turn it back to Liz.
Muted. Thank you so much, Ricky, for the presentation and explanation. It's as we prepared to celebrate Bill here on campus and prepared for this meeting, it's almost mind-boggling, his contributions to American archaeology and how many generations of students and professionals he's influenced their careers, and that was definitely on display at the celebration of life we were able to host here at Crow Canyon last month. Some of you who are with us today might have been there. If you hadn't, like Ricky said, it was such a large gathering of supporters and family and friends and colleagues. And one of our talented staff, Laura Brown, put together a video that you can kind of get a sense of the people who were there and the feel and all of the good hearts that were in the tent that day. And it was not supposed to rain, and we had a massive downpour during that we were pretty sure that Bill was responsible for. So Ben, if you don't mind going ahead and teeing up that video for us, and get a sense of what that celebration was like last month. Thank you. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. That is all we have for you. And Have a fantastic rest of your week and weekend. You can always reach out to us if you think of any questions after the fact. But just really grateful that all of you joined us today to hear about what we've been up to and get the state of the organization and hear more about some of our folks that we've lost this year. So. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you a week from today on our webinar next week. So have a fantastic weekend, everyone. Take good care.